Do you know, friends, that the average salary of Python developer in India is around 7,08,083 rupees, according to the Indeed.com. And in today's market scenario, there are 30 plus thousand jobs available right now as per to the job portals like Indeed, LinkedIn, and Monster.com. Choosing a career in Python can be a smart move for many reasons, because Python's high demand for data science, its versatility in software development, ease of learning, high salaries, and a strong job growth has made it an attractive choice for switching career in this domain. With that keeping in mind, I have curated top 15 Python interview questions. Now before we move on, just a quick info for you.
Craving a career upgrade? Subscribe, like, and comment below. Dive into the link in the description to fast-track your ambitions. Whether you're making a switch or aiming higher, Simplilearn has your back.
IBM experts. With that said, guys, here's the agenda for our today's session. So guys, we will be covering questions from arrays, lists, strings. Then we will move on to tuples and set. Moving ahead, we will also have questions based on recursion, algorithm problems, data handling, and data visualization. So let's get started. But before that, I request you guys that do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon for further updates. So guys, let's get started. So here's our first interview question, that is, given two arrays, write a Python function to return the intersection of the two. For example, if we have x equals to 1590 and y equals to 3029, then it should return 9 and 0. So how you will approach this problem by coding in Python? You can take your time and then you can come to the solution. So guys, in order to solve this question, we will have to create a Python function that will find the intersection of two arrays. And this function is going to use the set data structure to efficiently determine the common elements between the two lists. So guys, first what we are going to do, let us create a function first. So we are going to say the name def intersect, and you can just call it as arrays. Okay, and then let us give the two argument AR1 and ARR2. Pretty fine till here. Now after that, convert both of the list and sets to remove the duplicates and allow for intersection. So what we are going to do, we are going to create set1, okay, and this is going to be set of array1, okay. Then next what we are going to do, we are going to create a set of 2, okay, and this is going to be assigned to set of array2. Pretty fine. Now what we have to do, guys, we have to find the intersection of both of the sets. So guys, we can give a variable name sets intersection. So sets, okay, and this is going to equal to set1, okay, dot intersection of set2. Very easy, guys. And then we have to convert the intersection set back to a list before returning this list. So what we can do, finally, we can just return. So return list, and here we can give the intersection of the same. So now we have done that. Let us take an example of the same. So for example, we can take, say, x equals to 1509 and y equals to, say, 3029. And finally, we are going to call this as result. So res equals to, and finally, we can just call our function. So our function was intersect arrays. So we can just copy this and we can give the array's name, that it will be x, comma, y. Fine. And then we can finally ask to print the result. So in this way, we are going to find the intersection. Let us run our notebook. So we can see there are some errors coming up. So Okay. So we can see that the answer is coming 0 and 9. Pretty fine right now. So we have completed our first question. Now let us move to the next question. So guys, our next question is, given an array, find all the duplicates in this array. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 6, 5, and we should return only 1 and 3. So we can see 1 and 3 are the only one which has been duplicated. So how you are going to approach this problem? You can pause this video for a while and then you can come to this video and then you can watch the solution. So guys, to find all the duplicates in an array in Python, you can use a dictionary or the collections.counter to count the occurrences of each element and then gather those with the counts greater than 1. So for example, I'm going to show you a dictionary. So what you can do, we can define a function first. Say, let's find a duplicate. So def find, say, duplicate, and in this we are going to take an argument array. Define. Now after that, let us declare a dictionary with name as counts. Okay, and let us create a list of duplicates. After that, what we are going to do, we are going to count each element in the array. So let us go to the for loop. So for num in array, okay, then if num in counts, okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this, that count num, or else what we can do, we can count on that num equals to 1. So finally what we are going to do in this code, that we are counting the occurrences of each element. So we are using the for loop and we are maintaining it with the count. Okay. Now as you would have got the idea regarding this, so let me write this variable. Now I hope so till here you are clear with it. In the next, we are going to collect elements that appear more than once. So guys, for key and value in counts.item, if the value is greater than 1, what we can do? We can append that key. Okay, I'll show you right here what I mean. So here we can apply the for loop. So for key, comma value in counts, in okay, so for key value in counts.items, so if the value is greater than 1, okay, what we are going to do, we are going to append this list. So duplicates dot append with the required key. Okay, now what we are going to do finally, and finally we are going to return our duplicates. So finally this function is going to return duplicates. Now let us have the example usage. For example, we have this input array, say 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 6, 5, and the result is equals to find slash duplicates, and we are going to put the input array. So now let us cross check the functions we have. So it is find duplicate. This is, we're going to exclude this. Now let us run our this code. So it says there is an error. Okay. Now let us see what's the error in this. So it says for key and value in counts.item. Okay, so it says unindent does not match the outer end. So there is an indentation problem. Okay, So guys, as you can see all over here, we have given our duplicates 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 6, 5, and we are finding the duplicates in this input array. And our result is 1 and 3. Very easy. So go through this question. This question has a high probability of being asked in the interview question. So don't miss it out. Now let us move to our third question. So guys, our next question is that you have to rotate a list to the right by k places where k is a non-negative number. For example, we have an input of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and k equals to 2. So your rotated array is going to look like something 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So basically when k equals to 2, so 0, 1 and 2. So after this, all the numbers are going to come first, and then in the same process like 1, 2 and 3 are going to go back. So it's a rotation problem, and let us see how we can approach this problem. So guys, in order to solve this problem of rotating a list right by k places where k is a non-negative, you can use a straightforward approach. Then this involves slicing the list and rearranging the parts. But here's the another way you can try it, that is by normalizing. So guys, since the rotating the list by its length, suppose it has a length of n, it results the same list. So you can normalize by k by taking k mod n or k percentage n, where n is the length of the entire list. So what is going to do, this is going to handle the cases where k is greater than n. Okay, so let us try to see the problem. So we have created a function called defRotate list, and I have taken two parameters nums and k. Now here I am defining n as the length of the given list. So if n is equals to 0, I want it to return the nums, okay, the given parameter which we have given, okay, the length of the given list. So now after this we have to normalize. So in order to avoid like where where k becomes greater than n. So k equals to k modulo n. So this is our normalization. And after this we are performing the rotation. So by rotation by slicing, so rotated list equals to nums of minus k dot plus nums of k. So this means that till k you have to partition it, okay, and after post of k you have to do the partition. And after that we are returning the rotated list. So you can see in the input list we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and here k equals to 2. So what it's going to return? So the given list, okay, so k dot means since 2 and post 2 and pre 2. So you have to take that into consideration. So guys, after post we are adding the pre. So for example, k equals to 2, so 0, 1 and 2. So these comes, so 4 and 5 is going to be put all over here. Then after that, pre of 2 are going to be placed. And finally we are concatenating it. So 4, 5, 1, 2, 3 is going to be our output. So let us run this program and we can see we are getting the output 4, 5, 1, 2 and 3. Very easy problem. Okay. Now let us move on to the next problem. So guys, the next question is, given an integer array, find the sum of largest contiguous subarray within the array. For example, given the array A equals to 0, minus 1, minus 5, minus 2, 3 and 14. So it should return 17 because of 3 and 14. So there is a note also that if all the elements are negative, then it should return a 0. So it has given the case study. For example, you have to consider an integer array and you have to find the sum of largest contiguous subarray. So this is a subarray problem. Let us try to approach this. So for example, we have the input list 0, minus 1, minus 5, minus 2, 3 and 14. So we have to take a case on this and it should return 17. So guys, to solve this problem, you can use the cadence algorithm, which efficiently finds the maximum subarray within the time complexity of O of n. And this algorithm maintains the running sum of maximum subarray found so far and updates it as it traverses the array. Additionally, to handle the case where all the elements are negative, so such that you want to return 0 in such a case, you can initialize the maximum sum as 0. So here's the Python implementation of the same. So guys, here's the solution to this problem. Let us define the function def max subarray, and which is going to take nums as the parameter. Now we are going to initialize variables to track the current sum and the best sum found. So current sum equals to 0 and maximum sum is also equals to 0. Then we have to traverse through the array and update the current sum and max sum accordingly. So for example, for num in nums, okay, then we have to update the current sum and reset it to 0 if it becomes negative. So if current sum is less than 0, then you have to put the current sum equals to 0 and then update it with maximum sum equals to max of, you can take a max function, then take max sum and the current sum. And finally, we are returning the max sum. So this is very easy. So basically what we are doing, so we are taking two variables, current sum and max sum. And we are traversing through this nums array and we are finding that if our current sum is equals to 0, okay, then we are updating our current sum such that current sum equals plus now. Okay, so we are adding the current sum with the given number, like the iterator number basically we are using. For example, if it is 1, so current sum will be equal to 0, so 0 plus 1 will be there. And then if it goes negative, so if current sum is less than 0, then we are putting it to 0. Very easy. Suppose if you have negative numbers in your array. So that covers this situation. Now I hope so you have got the idea regarding the same. And finally, we are taking the maximum of max sum and the current sum. Okay. So in this way, we are going to print the maximum part of it, which is 17. Now let us take this and let us try to run our application. So you can see we have printed 17. So this clearly covers the idea regarding this question. Now let us move to our next question. So guys, our next question is define tuples and list in Python and what are the major differences between them. So guys, this is one of the very basic question. So in Python, list and tuples both are sequence data types that can store collection of items. They are used to store multiple items in a single variable and have several similarities. But there are significant differences that affect how and when you should use each. For example, if you take a list. So a list in Python is a mutable or changeable ordered sequence of elements. Each element inside a list can be accessed, added, edited, or removed. And lists are defined by having values between a square bracket. For example, if we define a list, say list L, so which is equals to say 1, 2, 3, and also we can put hello. Pretty fine. And also we can add a boolean value. So let's add true. Now let us talk about the tuples. So a tuple in Python is an immutable or unchangeable ordered sequence of elements. This is very important. And once a tuple is created, you cannot change, add, or remove its elements. Tuples are defined by having values between parentheses. And this way we cover the definition of tuples. So for example, if we define a tuple, so it is going to look something like this. So t equals to, say, we take the parentheses and suppose we add 1, 2, and 3. So this forms our tuple. Now, if we talk about the major differences, we know that in lists are mutable, okay, and tuples are immutable. So that's a basic difference. Next, you can talk about their syntax. So like, if we talk about list, they use square brackets, whereas tuples uses parentheses. If we talk about performance, guys, then tuples are faster than list because of their immutable nature of tuples. Now, list being mutable, they are slightly slower as compared to tuple. Okay, and they also require additional operations for memory. So in this way, you can differentiate between tuples and list. Now let us move on to our next question. So guys, our next problem is on anagram. So it says, given an array of strings, group anagrams together. Okay, suppose we have strings like eat, tea, tan, ate, nat, bat. So our output should look like something like this. It should be ate, eat, tea, nat, tan, and bat. Okay. Now, to solve the problem of grouping anagrams together, forming a given array of strings, you can utilize a dictionary to help organize words by their signature. So guys, what's a signature? A signature can be formed by sorting the characters in each string, which ensures that all anagrams will have the same signatures. So for example, what we are going to do, we are going to create a dictionary. So you can use a dictionary to map each sorted version of a string such that the strings to a list of strings can be added, and when it is sorted, you can match that signature. Then you can use the sort each string. For each string in the list, you can sort the strings to generate its signature and add the original string to the corresponding list. And then finally you can collect the results. So basically here's a Python implementation of the same. So guys, as you can see all over here, we have defined the function named group anagrams and we have taken arguments words. So here's our dictionary, anagram dict. Then we are taking the for loop and finally we are sorting it, okay, with the empty string using the join function, okay, and we are using the sorted function. Then if sorted word not in anagram dictionary, then what we are doing basically, we are putting it into this anagram dictionary with the category of the sorted word which we have created. So this is the required variable, okay. Now this will be equals to and word dictionary. Now finally, if this does not happen, then else you can put anagram dictionary in the sorted words and you can append that in the word. So these are the certain things where word is our iterator, okay. So this is equals to a number which we are basically storing. So now finally we are extracting the list. So we are presenting these groups into a list, okay. So finally the dictionary is converted into the list. So list anagram dict values and finally we are returning our result. So here is our input words and finally we are calling our function with this word as the parameter. So let us run this and let us see whether our output is coming or not. And we can see we are getting the output of the anagram words. So eat, tea, ate, tan, nat and bat. So we had this as the anagrams are certain things, like suppose eat is there, so t is ending with t, so it is next word is starting with t. You can see the next word is ending with a and here the next word is starting. So similarly tan and nat are grouped and bat are grouped. So what we have to do all over here, the entire logic remains the same and it is here. So you have to create a variable all over here, sorted word, and let's say be empty, and you have to join it with the word. Word means in the given dictionary, whatever the word, like suppose eat, tea, tan. So initially we are putting it in empty words. Now, if this word, okay, if this sorted word is not in anagram dictionary, means it is not present in our dictionary. So we can just do what? We can put this in our dictionary. So we can take this parameter as sorted word, okay, and put that word in this. So similarly, like we are grouping in this case like eat and tea, okay. Now else if it is not present in our dictionary, so anagram sorted dictionary is appending that word, okay. So here the assignment is happening and here we are appending it. So finally what results are eat, tea, ate, tan, nate and bat. Very tricky question, has a higher probability to be asked in the exam. Now let us move on to our next question. So guys, our next question is, given an integer n and integer k, output a list of all combinations of k numbers chosen from 1 to n. For example, if n equals to 3 and k equals to 2, you have to return 1, 2, 1, 3 and 2, 3. So how is this going to happen? So guys, this is going to happen by generating all the possible combinations of k numbers from set of numbers ranging from 1 to n. You can use this. So there is a Python's itertools.combination function, and this function is designed to generate the combination without repetition based on the specified length. So how you can do this? So for example, you can import itertool, okay, from combinations, and then you can generate the given combinations. So let me show you. So guys, as you can see all over here, I am importing itertools from combinations. Then I am creating a function dev generate combinations, nk is a given parameter, okay, where I'm creating a range from 1 to n. So range function I'm using, and I'm putting this from 1 to n plus 1. And I'm storing this into the variable or assigning it into a variable called numbers. Then I'm using itertools.combinations to generate all the combination of the length k. And finally, we are converting it into a list and storing it in the result. So in this function, basically what we are doing, So we can see there is a range 1 plus n plus 1. So this is basically generating the numbers from 1 up to n. And the combinations of number comma k, you can see. So in this line, so what this is basically doing, this is producing the combination of numbers in numbers, okay, taken k at a time. So each combination is returned as a tuple and all the combinations are stored in a list. So this output of tuples in the list represents the combination of numbers chosen. So if you need them in specific format like list of list instead of list of tuples, you can convert them accordingly. Now let us run our code and we can see we are getting it in the format as 1, 2, 1, 3 and 2, 3. So this is generating the same, and so we are getting an output of list of all the combination of k numbers chosen from 1 to n. So in this scenario, I have put n equals to 3 and k equals to 2. Very amazing question, has a higher probability to be asked in the exam. Now let us discuss the next question. So guys, our next question is pretty interesting and it says write a function to generate n samples from a normal distribution and plot them on the histogram. So guys, in order to solve this question, you need to know about normal distribution. So to generate the samples from a normal distribution, you can plot them on the histogram. So you can use Python's library called as NumPy for the generation of samples and matplotlib for plotting the histogram. So here's the implementation. So guys, as you can see all over here, we are importing NumPy as NP and we are importing the matplotlib. Okay. Then finally we are defining a function plot normal distribution samples, and here we have to take the 3 parameters. The first one is n, second one is mean, and the third one is standard deviation. We have initialized mean equals to 0 and standard deviation equals to 1. Then we are generating n samples from a normal distribution with specified mean, standard deviation, and with that we are going to plot the histogram. So it's more of a mathematical problem, but if you have a little bit idea regarding normal distribution, you can achieve this. So we can see there is a parameter n where the n denotes the number of samples, okay, and mean is there for the normal distribution, and similarly we have included standard deviation for the normal distribution. Finally, here we are generating the samples. So samples equals to, we are using the NumPy library, so np.random.normal, okay, and I have given LOC location equals to mean, scale is standard deviation, and of the size n. So it is very standard, and after that we are plotting the histogram with plt.hist. So I have taken samples, then bins equals to 30, edge color we have given black, and alpha equals to 0.7. And finally we are putting the title as histogram distribution sample. On the x level there is a value and y is frequency, and we have put the grid as true, and finally we are asking it to show it. Now let us run this. So we can see it has generated the histogram of normal distribution samples. Very interesting question. I hope so you are clear with it. Now let us move on to the next question. Now guys, let us take a question from Pandas, a very popular library. So the question says that what is the difference between apply and apply map functions in Pandas? So guys, in Pandas, the functions apply and apply map serve different purposes. Although they both apply a function along the x-axis of the data frame or in Panda series, but here you can use them. So for example, in apply is used to apply a function along the axis of the data frame. So it can be either a row or a column. It can be used to operate on the entire row or a column at once, and this function is extremely flexible and can return a single value or a series or even a data frame. Then if we talk about flexibility guys, it works on a complete row or column and can be used to implement aggregation, transformation and other operations that consider multiple elements at once. So for example, let me show you. So say we have this, import pandas as PD, okay. Then we can define our data frame. So df equals to pd dot data frame, and finally here we can give as a all over here, and we can give the value as list as 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, we can change the given thing as b, and we can change this value as 4, 5 and 6. And finally we have closing this. So by applying a function to each column, say default axis equals to 0, so we can store the result something like this. So let us create the variable called result, and this is equals to say df dot apply, okay, and we can use our lambda expression. So lambda x, and here we can take x dot max, okay, minus x dot min. Pretty fine. So we are applying a function to each column all over here. And if we talk about like apply map, so apply map is used to apply a function to each element of the data frame. So this method is available only for data frames, not for series object. That is the most important thing. And if we talk about element-wise operation, so apply map operates element-wise, and it is very suitable for operations that depend on the value of the single cell, and they do not need to consider other elements in the row or column. So guys, that was a basic difference between apply and apply map functions. Now let us move on to the next question. So guys, our next question is on strings, and it says, given a string, return the first occurrence character in it. So on none if there is no recurring character. For example, if the input is Python interview questions and the output is n. So as you can see, n is a recurring alphabet. So we have to find the recurring character in this given string. So guys, to find the first recurring character in a string, you can use a Python function that tracks the character you have seen as you iterate through the string. You can utilize a set to efficiently check if a character has appeared before. So for that, here's a simple implementation. So guys, as you can see all over here, we have defined the function first recurring character, and we are taking input string as a given argument. Now here is the variable called scene, and it is stored as a set. Now let us iterate through each character in the string. So for char in input string, if char is present in this set, so what I want to do, I want to return the first recurring character. Then finally we are adding this character into the set if it is not already seen. And if it is not present, we are returning the none. Very basic for loop and conditionals we have applied, okay. Now in this we are presenting the input string, okay, and let us see what our output would be when we are calling the given function. So you can see we are getting output of n. So this is very basic guys, and I hope so you have got a brief idea regarding this. Now let us move on to our next question. So guys, as you can see, our next question is, given a positive integer x, return an integer that is a factorial of x. If a negative integer is provided, it should return -1 and implement the solution using recursive function. So guys, we have got a problem on recursion, and it is mostly asked in TCS or Accenture's interview question. So whenever you are having a technical round, so you are going to have a higher probability to be asked. Now let us see the solution of this question. So guys, to calculate the factorial of a given positive integer x using recursion and to return -1 for negative integers, you can implement a simple recursive function. So here's how you can do it. So you can see all over here, we have defined a function def factorial x, okay. So if we are hitting our base case, means x equals to 0, what we are returning it as 1. And if the input is negative, we are returning -1 as indicated. And finally, we can see a recursive case. So if it is not hitting both of the cases, then we are basically returning x into x factorial x -1. So basically what it is doing, guys, so say if we put x equals to 0, so we know that we are getting its factorial as 1. Now we are getting factorial of 1. Now if x is greater than 0, say suppose we are taking 1, so 1 into factorial of 0. So factorial of 0 is 1, so 1 into 0 will be 1. Similarly, next if x equals to 2, so 2 into factorial of 1, so it becomes 2. So you can see we are going to get a series of multiplication. So in that way we can find this solution using recursion. So let us try to print the output. So we can see we are getting output as 120, -1 and 1. So we have finally completed this problem using recursion. Definitely try this problem, guys. One of the most frequent asked questions in the interview. Now let us move on to our next question. So guys, our next question is, given an m by n matrix with positive integers, determine the length of longest path of increasing within the matrix. For example, let us see. So guys, in order to find the longest increasing path in an m times n matrix of positive integers, you can use a technique called depth first search approach and combined with memoization. This problem is going to involve exploring all the possible paths from each cell and caching the result to avoid redundant computation. Now, so in this approach, we are using DFS with memoization. For each cell in the matrix, use DFS to explore possible increasing path starting from the cell. Then cache the length of the longest path starting from the each cell to avoid the recomputation. Then also go on the edge conditions, like you will only move to the adjacent cells that contain a higher value to ensure that the path is increasing. Finally, you have to implement these steps so you can create a DFS function that explores all the 4 possible directions like up, down, left and right. And it is returning the length of the longest path. And finally, use memoization table, a 2D list basically, to store the length of the longest path starting from each cell. Iterate over each cell in the matrix and you can initiate a DFS if the cell hasn't been explored. So here is the implementation of the same. So guys, as you can see all over here, we have created a function called def longest increasing path and we have taken an argument called matrix. So if not matrix or matrix is present, okay, then we are returning it 0. And finally, we are defining our DFS function with I and j as the 2 given variable. So if it is already computed, then return the cached value. So if memo of I and j is not equal to 0, we are returning the given memo. Then we are exploring all the possible 4 directions like 0, 1, 1, 0, 0 minus and minus 1, 0. So it is denoting the up, left, right and bottom. And say we have initialized our maximum length as 1, okay. So in order to find the di and dj, means the distance, what we are taking the 2 variables as ni and nj, okay, and we are incrementing it with I and j. And then finally, we are using if ni is greater than 0, it is less than m, and nj is greater than equal to 0 and less than n. So finally, at the matrix is also we are seeing, in this matrix, we are seeing that ni and nj should be greater than the matrix of I and j. Then finally, we are printing the maximum length. So using the max function, we are finding the maximum length and we are returning this DFS. And finally, we are storing the memo of I and j equals to maximum length. So which is basically our cached length. And finally, we are returning the maximum length. So you can see later on what we are doing, we have taken m and n and we are multiplying the length of the matrix into length of the matrix 0. So later on, we have created the variable called memo all over here. And in this, we are multiplying it with n, okay, for element at 0th index and in the range of m. And we have initialized our result equals to 0. Then we can start DFS from each cell for I in range of m, for j in the range of n. We can result equals to maximum result of DFS I and j. So here we can see the matrix of 9, 9, 4, 6, 6, 8, 2, 1, 1. So let us see what is our longest increasing path. So this was the basic idea regarding the code. The code can seem a little bit more exhaustive, but if you try to do it with the concept, it will be solvable. Now we can see the longest path it's showing is 4. So this is the output of our given problem. So let us go again with this problem. So here basically in this, what we are doing is we are traveling from 1 to 2, 2 to 6 and 9. So that has become the 4. Okay. So this is our longest increasing path. So 1 to 2, okay, then 2 to 6, then 6 to 9. So this is our maximum path we can follow. So 4 is the given output. Now let me go through this problem once again. For example, here we have taken a DFS function. Okay, so this DFS function is called recursively to explore each direction. It checks whether a move is valid, stays within the bound, or moves a higher value. Then you can see we have taken the use of memoization. So memo of I and j stores the length of the longest increasing path from cell I and j. So guys, this reduces the time complexity by avoiding the recalculating paths of the same cell. Then we are doing the result calculation. So we are iterating through each cell starting a DFS if the longest path from that cell has not been computed. Then we are printing the maximum value obtained from all the DFL calls, and that is our result. So this approach is basically efficient for matrices where many values are not recomputed due to caching, thus making it a feasible for larger matrices. So that's the solution of this problem. Now let us move to our next problem. So guys, our next question is explain Flask, what Flask is and its benefits. So guys, as we all know that Flask is a popular micro-web framework written in Python. It is called micro framework because it does not require particular tools or libraries. It has no database abstraction layer, form validation on any other components where pre-existing third libraries provide common function. However, Flask supports extensions that can add application features. Like here we can say, suppose if you want to add simplicity, flexibility, lightweight features, then you can use it. Flask is also extensible, that it can be extended with extensions available to additional functionality like object relational mappers, form validation, upload handling, and various open authentication technologies and several common frameworks related to it. Then you can also say it has a built-in developer server and debugger. So Flask also includes a built-in server and debugger, which makes it easy to develop and test your applications locally. So this is Flask and these are some of its benefits. Now let us move on to the next question. So guys, our next question is, what is the difference between list, arrays and sets in Python and when you should use each of them? Very basic question guys. So guys, in Python, list, arrays and sets are all container data types that store collection of items. Each type serves a different purposes and used in specific scenarios depending on the needs of the program. So for example, lists are one of the most versatile data structures in Python. They are ordered, mutable, and can hold a heterogeneous assortment of objects. Then if I talk about characteristics, lists are ordered, meaning that the items have been defined in order and that order will not change until and unless you change it. So guys, as you can see all over here, that lists are mutable, meaning you can change their content without changing their identity. You can also have a duplicate element in a list. So it is always advisable to use list when you need an ordered collections that can change and might include the duplicate entries. Suitable for the cases where you need to perform frequent read and write operations. Now if I talk about arrays, arrays in context of Python arrays module or the NumPy arrays are specifically optimized for numerical data and offer more storage efficiency and operations which are tailored to numerical processing. Like you can use NumPy's arrays in a situation when an extensive set of operations are for mathematical and logical based. Arrays are also mutable and ordered. So you can use arrays when you need to store large amount of numerical data for scientific computing or other operations that require efficient and compact storage with vectorized operations, like for data analysis, machine learning, or any task that requires efficient array computation. The next one is sets. So guys, sets are unordered collection of unique elements. They are like mutable and provide operations to perform common sets of operations like unions, intersections, differences, and symmetric differences. Sets are like unordered, so they do not record element in position or order of insertion. You can use sets whenever you need to ensure that an element appears only once in a collection. So ideal for membership testing, removing duplicates from sequence, performing mathematical set operations like union, intersection, symmetric, etc. So this was all about this question. Now let us move on to our next question. So guys, let us move to our final question. That is, what are some of the common ways to handle missing data in Python and which method do you prefer and why? So guys, as we all know that handling missing data is a crucial aspect of data preprocessing, especially in real-world scenarios where data incompleteness can skew or invalidate analysis. Python, particularly with libraries like pandas and NumPy, provides robust methods for dealing with missing data. So here are some of the common strategies. The first one that is removing data. Okay, so like dropping rows or columns with missing values using dropna function. Okay, so you can use when this data set is too large or when the missing data is not significant and it is not likely to introduce bias. So in that scenarios, you can use it. There are certain drawbacks to it, like you can use valuable data also that could be critical for analysis. The second technique that comes up to my mind is imputation. So guys, when you're filling missing values with either a test statistic like mean, median, mode, okay, for numerical data, or a frequent category for categorical data. This can be done using fillna or a simple imputer from sklearn.impute. So you can use it when the integrity is crucial and you cannot afford to lose data points. A drawback of this is that potentially it is introducing bias or affecting the distribution of the data. So using algorithms is the third part. Repeat. So the third one is predicting the missing values. Using algorithms to predict missing values based on other data in a data sets. Techniques can range from simple linear regression to more complex approaches like k-nearest neighbors or random forest. So when the missing values are substantial and there is a reasonable hypothesis that other variables can predict the missing values, so you can use this. So it is computationally intensive and can overfit if not properly tuned. Next one is using a constant to fill the missing data. So guys, filling missing data with a constant is not present in the data, like -999 for instance, like to differentiate the real data from the filled ones. So often used in modeling competitions or specific algorithms that can handle peculiar values and interpret them appropriately. The drawback of this is that it can skew the analysis if not handled correctly. So guys, these were some of the common ways to handle the missing data in the Python. Now, for me, I would like to prefer the imputation because imputation combined with indicator variables, especially for data sets where missing values are informative. So guys, in this way, it can yield a better result. So guys, that was all for today's video. I hope so you would have enjoyed our today's video on Python interview questions at Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.